Story time. I moved in with my boyfriend after dating 2 months. I wanted to share this story with you because I know it's not all that common for people to move in together that quickly, and it's actually a really special story. I did meet my soulmate, so I wanted to walk through our story, and then I wanted to give some tips for you guys to know if it's the right time to move in with your partner as well. So let's jump into today's video. I hope you guys enjoy this, and we're just gonna start from the beginning. The beginning is, how did my boyfriend and I meet? So we actually met on a dating app, which was really awesome. I didn't think that I was going to meet someone on this particular dating app, but in the city that I lived in, it was more for dating rather than hookups. And so we met on there, and I just immediately wanted to meet him. We didn't really message very much on that dating app. So we met in person and we went to a park and we played basketball together, and he thought it was really cool that I wanted to play basketball, and most girls, I guess, didn't really want to be outdoorsy or athletic with him. So we met at a park and there was this instant connection. He was really into me and he thought that I wasn't interested in him, which was actually really funny. He wanted to hug me. I think he wanted to kiss me as well.
Yeah, so this is my side of the story. At one point I thought she was trying to kiss me at the pond.
But I am a little bit more I have to get to know somebody first. So we ended up meeting, and so the first date ended up going really, really well. It was really sweet, and I was so surprised when I got on the phone with my mom after we met, and I was just she's like, well, how'd it go? And I was like, it went really well. She was like, okay. And we were talking on the phone and she was just like, you sound just so genuinely happy. And I had a weird dating history, so hearing that was just really nice that I did click with him on the first date.
Yeah, so this is my side of the story. On our first date, we had a great time. It was a little rainy. We were just walking around the park. We played a little basketball, and that was really fun. And she was making some threes, and I was, a little impressed. I was like, okay, maybe she can play a little bit. We had a great date at the park, and we walked around, and at one point I thought she was trying to kiss me at the pond. And clearly that's not something she does, so I guess not. So I was getting mixed signals at that point. And then after all of this, we walk around all of the park and outside to the next neighborhood, and we go an extra mile. It's a lot of fun. And then after we end the date, as I end the date, she's like, okay, bye. And then I'm about trying to get a hug, and I force her to give me a hug, and it's one of these no body contact hugs, and it was really funny. And it was like this. It was over a door too, kind of her door was in between us, kind of. And she was like, bye. And I was like, all right, well, that's not going anywhere.
And so from then we went on to a few more dates, and we ended up going away together to a city close by. So at the time it was this little mountain town, and it was 2 weeks into dating each other. We went on this trip, which was already kind of weird, but we had this instant trust for each other, and so we went on this trip and it went fantastic. And it was then that we kind of knew how much we cared for each other and how instant our bond was. After that trip, we went on another trip together. It was maybe a month into dating. And then I think a month and a half into dating, or maybe a couple weeks after that, we went on another trip. And so each trip we took was actually longer and longer and longer. And so that kind of led us into realizing, we went to Miami together and we stayed there for 4 days, and it really was a crash course on how it feels living with your partner.
After that, it was great, and we had a couple other dates that were awesome. We had a lot of fun on those. I'm pretty sure she talked to you guys about it. Oh yeah, Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a place.
Yeah, I remember that place. Yeah, Miami was our first. Well, Asheville was.
Well, our Miami trip was our like boot camp for living together. Well, no, it was it was like our boot camp of living together. Like we spent those days together, and then afterwards, or like during, we were like, oh, I feel like living together. But I think we realized some things.
Oh yeah, we did. Like, yeah, just like in the kitchen, how some things are, we just got to know each other's style a little bit better.
Yes.
It was good.
So the second thing I wrote down for us to talk about is how it feels living with him. We've been living together for 6 months now, and I am like, I'm in love with him, like that's my best friend, but it has not been easy for a second, like he is more particular, I'm a little bit more laid back. We had to have a lot of communication to get to the place where we're at. And it feels amazing to live with him. Like, I don't want to ever live without him because I just love his presence in my life. He's super supportive of me. But it's been challenging. Like, you learn a lot about a person when you're, like, living with them.
So, living together and our experiences up until now. My screen time!
The third thing I wanted to talk about is choosing a place to live. Okay, so you really have to, it's so hard to get to know another person. Like, it just takes time, truly. But there's a lot of questions that you can ask beforehand that I'm gonna get into a little bit later to know if you guys are a good fit to live together. But a really big thing is choosing a place to live. So are you gonna stay in the same town together? So like, not only did we move in after 2 months, we moved completely across the country together, drove one single car cross country to a whole new city to live together and try this whole new thing. And so if you're living in the same town together, it's easy, like, okay, just move in together, right? But choosing a place to live outside of where you're from can be difficult. You want to make sure that both people are equally on the same page. Come to find out 6 months later, like, he came out here for an experiment. His life was just as good where we were than it is now. And so for me, it was a little bit different. I wanted to chase like a dream almost. And so I wanted to come out to California to chase this dream. And you really have to make sure both partners are on the same track when it comes to stuff like that. So as far as choosing a place to live, you really have to listen. Like, if you want to move in with your partner, you have to listen. I was telling them that it's really important to listen to your partner. Like, one thing I've learned in this relationship is to listen. I know. I didn't before. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at listening.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this video is kind of jumbled because I just remembered more information about like how we met and how we ended up moving in together. So one of the biggest things was it was actually a joke. Okay. So like, we were dating for 2 months and we just kept talking like, oh, like we'll live together in this one city that we were at, right? But then it started being a joke of like, oh, we should move to Australia. And we really started thinking about it. And then we were like, oh, well, this other city would be really cool. We both always wanted to go out to California.
We got to know each other a little bit more, and we were like, hey, we both want to move to California. Let's do it.
So, and then we just like started looking at apartments. And next thing we know, we decide that in 2 weeks, we're going to move to California together. And it shocked our families. We made sure that our families met before we moved out. And his family loved me. Our families loved each other. And it was just a soulmate fit. And he and I both knew that after 2 weeks of dating, that we found that person that we were both looking for. So wanted to add that in there, but also coming back to choosing a place to live. You have to listen to your partner. I have always been a leader, And in our relationship, we're both leaders, and you have to equally listen to one another to get anywhere. And so, like, he's actually really good at finding places to live. I'm really good at finding cheap places to live.
She was used to, like, my camera. She was used to being kind of the leader in her friend group and family group, and I thought, like, kind of with her, like, ambitious nature, I was like, oh, well, she's done this before. She knows what she's doing. So I was like, okay, well, I think my advice is good, but maybe she knows what she's doing. So I was like, okay, well, this will be like my time to let her do her thing, and I can, you have to trust your partner sometimes, even though it might not be the best move in your heart, and you know it, but you gotta let them do what they kind of want to do sometimes. If it's a big risk, then you just gotta say no. But if it's something that you can take the hit on it, you're like, okay, well, this won't be too big of a deal. We can lose this one, but we can also come out with a big win if this works out. So yeah, and it's like never their fault or never your fault. It's like at the end of the day, you guys both make a decision to go forward with whatever you do. So you're gonna be mad, of course, in the moment because you're like, God, I knew I shouldn't have. But at the same time, you're like, you know what? Realistically, like, I said yes, so I'm just as much responsible as that person is.
So you have to just listen to each other, take the time to sit down, write out all the different things that you guys want out of a place to live. For us, we wanted a balcony, we wanted a lot of light, we wanted a nice kitchen, we wanted to be in the center of a city. We both love being like in downtown areas. So we came together on that decision. So take the time to talk to your partner. Okay, the fourth thing is have a credit/money conversation.
Have good credit, because one thing, I didn't have credit because my parents paid cash for everything for me growing up. I have no credit, never had a credit card, zero credit.
Now.
But now I do have credit and I have a decent score.
Yes.
Slowly increasing.
Yes. When we first moved, I didn't realize that he didn't have credit. And it actually affected us being able to move into an apartment, and we ended up having to get a co-signer. So before you move in with your partner, do have a conversation about, does everyone have credit? Are we going to be able to move into this place? Have those conversations beforehand, and also have conversations about money. My boyfriend and I are very unique in that we actually are very independent while being very dependent. So I think we're emotionally independent on each other, but financially very independent. I feel like a lot of times we are very independent, but also dependent on each other. Like, I think we're very independent people, but we're emotionally dependent on each other in a good way.
Yeah.
He has his bank account, I have my bank account. We're not married, so like obviously that kind of makes sense, but we don't pay for groceries together. We split everything down the middle, like our rent's split, everything's split down the middle. And he cooks his own food, I cook my own food. So have these conversations. Have conversations about who's gonna do what. So have conversations about chores. The biggest conversation that you have to have is about cleanliness. Is one person more cleanly than the other? What do you expect from each other? Does one person expect to have things clean? What are areas of the house that have to be clean? Does the bed need to be made every day? Have these conversations before moving in together. I also wrote down a list of questions to ask before. So what areas of the home do you like clean? How will we pay for groceries and any joint items? Who will do what chores, what tasks? Do you need time alone? You just kind of have to know yourself and realize if you need alone time and how much time you need alone and where you're going to take that alone time. Are you going to go for a walk? Are you going to go somewhere else? Tell your partner that you're not mad, you just need space. And that goes into how will you deal with fights? Are you going to stay and talk about it, or you guys need space? And so a lot of these are things you're going to learn while you're living with each other, but also good to know before you moved in together. And I would encourage you guys to have those conversations before you move in. We had those conversations while we were living together because I think for us, our relationship was so strong and like we truly love each other deeply and we know we're each other's soulmate that it's not really a thing. And another thing to realize is if you've never had a long-term relationship, the dynamic of the relationship changes as time goes on. You learn who likes to be leaders in what position, but you also have to communicate a lot, especially if you live in a close space. If you live with somebody, communication becomes 100% amazing. Like if you're going to move in with your partner after 2 months, make sure that you have good communication with them. And that's really the key to getting yourself into an awesome position where you have a happy life living with your partner. A little bit later today, I'm actually going to have my boyfriend talk about his experiences and what advice he has for you guys. So it might be a repeat of what I've said, but if it is, you're just hearing it from him and you know that it's coming from both the female perspective and the male perspective in our partnership. So here's what he has to say.
Okay, here are some tips for when you're about to move in with someone. Make sure you guys are both like mentally prepared to be with another person. Make sure you're financially ready to be with another person, because like depending on what state you're moving to, I think you should always be like financially stable, but depending on the state, you should definitely be financially stable before you move to certain states. Yeah, which is a good thing we were like pretty like stable for, moving to California. And also it pushes a relationship to either like to succeed or fail quickly, because you can see like, is this gonna work out or is this like not gonna work out? That's another part. Might as well jump in there, spend as much time with the other person as you can, because that'll tell like if it's gonna work out or not. I think people don't really spend enough time with their loved ones before they make a decision. So that's another big part. You should like spend valuable time, not just like wasted time, like maybe going out to the club or just the movies, or you gotta like go on some trips like where you get to really know the person, like go to the mountains for a weekend, or go on a long vacation, like a week vacation. And I think that'll start telling you if this is the right person for you or not, because they can't put on that perfect face every day all the time. So then once some things happen in there, then you'll see like what kind of person they are.
Just like...
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Need a curtain.
Okay, thank you guys for watching this video. This is something completely different on this channel, but I want to incorporate a little bit more fun personal life videos. I love my relationship. I like talking about growing a relationship and traveling. I don't want to just talk about eczema all the time, so it's going to be evolving into a more well-rounded channel. So, hope you guys are ready for that.
Hello, everyone. You gotta put all this in there. And?
I'll let you. Is it better if you see yourself or worse?
No, worse.
Okay.
Worse. How much film you got? You need a little boop. Boop, so you can stop over here.